Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Accudemia webinar on integrating Zoom. My name is Chad Blodgett, and we are super excited to tell you about our new integration with Zoom and how it's going to help match your students with staff in those virtual sessions. We're going to go through a short PowerPoint before we actually get into the software, but I'm going to show you, how all of that works. Now, before we get started, just like most webinars, to keep noise to a minimum, we're going to keep everybody muted. Now, today's webinar will be recorded, so we are going to send everyone in attendance the recording of today's webinar. Now, if you have any questions at any time, over on the right side in the GoToWebinar, you're going to see that little question chat box. Please put your questions there. I'm actually going to have George in Accudemia support. He's going to be in there answering your questions. But at the very end, we are going to have a Q&A session as well, in case we didn't get to answer any questions during the webinar. And if any of you lose audio or your screen freezes, please just refresh the page and it should bring you right back to us. Now on today's agenda, we actually have some clients with us and we have non-clients with us. So we have some that aren't as familiar with Accudemia. So what I'd like to do for today's webinar is quickly go over what is Accudemia for those that may not be as familiar. But we are going to go straight into the Zoom integration for those clients that already are familiar and want to see what that integration looks like and how it works. And that will be going over the virtual appointments using a Zoom integration and the virtual drop-in or walk-in option using the Zoom integration as well. And we're going to be going over the importance and what differences the Zoom integration is going to give you as opposed to using some of the other available virtual options out there. Now, just because, again, we have some client or some non-clients who may not be as familiar with Accudemia, after the virtual options, I am going to go over some of the face-to-face options in case you do decide to be a virtual or a hybrid center come fall or spring, and you want to do some virtual and face-to-face. I'm going to show you how we can do both. And then we are going to get into Accudemia. I'm going to show you an example of a virtual appointment using the Zoom integration, a virtual walk-in or drop-in using the Zoom integration, and then we'll even get into some of the reporting and some of the other options that are available in Accudemia. And again, at the very end, we're going to do that Q&A session. So quickly, for those that aren't familiar with Accudemia, Accudemia is actually a totally cloud-based and hosted center management student tracking solution, really designed for any type of center that wants to track who came, why did they come, how long were they there. Okay, so not just tutoring, not just advising, really any center. Okay. And you're going to have access to the software from anywhere, anytime, using any type of device because it's cloud-based and hosted. And the idea is that we're going to streamline your drop-in and your walk-in process, whether it's virtual or if it's face-to-face, to give you the data and analytics that you need to make those decisions at your center, staffing, so when to staff, who to staff, what are students coming in for, what are they not coming in for. So we're going to take a look at some of those reports in today's webinar as well. So a quick Accudemia in a nutshell, again, for those that may not be as familiar, Accudemia can manage a single center or even multiple centers, so it is a scalable solution. It is a platform also to help you communicate with students, which we'll go over, track your check-ins, whether that's virtual or face-to-face, appointment scheduling, again, both virtual and face-to-face, and we're going to go over both those options in the software today. Tracking various student groups, at risk, probation, sports teams, any type of group that you want to track in Accudemia. Even collecting feedback on services and staff ratings, so we can do surveys through Accudemia to get feedback from our students if we want. Also leaving notes and comments on sessions, so as you're having these virtual or face-to-face sessions with students, you can actually use your phone, use any type of device to be able to go in and leave notes or comments on those sessions. We're going to get into a lot of the reporting, including our traffic analysis report, which is going to tell you when are students coming in and what are they coming in for. So the big feature here, the Zoom integration. So I want to go over what does that Zoom integration give you as opposed to what we've been doing, right? So what this is going to do is, for one, it's going to give you one-click access to Zoom meetings from Accudemia. So for example, if I'm pulling a student from a waiting queue in Accudemia that has signed in to a virtual waiting queue via virtual walk-in, it's going to go ahead, if I sign in with myself, send the student to my own Zoom link. Now the difference is we're going to get accurate tracking of online session times. So basically, when the student enters Zoom and when they leave Zoom, Zoom's going to send Accudemia a message to let us know that the student has entered and the student has left. So accurate time of when the student actually got there and when they actually left the session itself. Okay. So that's really to me, that's the most important feature when it comes to the Zoom integration, is the accurate tracking of student data, knowing when they left and exactly when they got to the Zoom room. Okay. We're also going to be able to create Zoom meetings from within Accudemia. So inside Accudemia, whenever you're sending students to various sessions, you could have a few sessions and send students to any of those sessions that you want to. And so I can actually show you in Accudemia where you'll have your sessions listed and you can determine where you want to send, which session you want to send the student to. We're also going to be using Accudemia's wait lines to manage traffic to Zoom meetings. So one example I'm going to show you is if a student's a virtual walk-in and they do go into the Accudemia waiting line, I'm going to be able to either sign the student in with myself and they'll then be sent out to Zoom, or I'm going to be able to match the student with another tutor or staff member, and they're going to be sent to that staff member's Zoom integration or Zoom session. Okay. And then the transparent use of Zoom for appointments and drop-in services. So it is a streamlined service. Again, I'm going to show you how that process works when we get into Accudemia. Now, I know today's webinar is all about integration with Zoom. The reason I wanted to also talk about possible other virtual platforms is because I have some schools that are using Zoom and another option. Okay? So really, Accudemia will work with any virtual option out there that offers a link for a student to meet with a staff member. The advantage of Zoom is that we have a direct integration. So we know when the student gets to Zoom and we know when they leave Zoom. If you use another option, we don't know when the student leaves the session, so we don't know the sign out time, and a staff member would have to sign the student out so we can get an accurate timeout. That's what the Zoom integration is doing for you. Signing the student in automatically when they get to Zoom, signing them out when they leave Zoom. So the first thing I want to talk about is tracking the virtual appointments. So what you're seeing on the screen here is what we call the student homepage. So let's say you have a link in your center's website, click here to make an appointment, and the student clicks there. It's going to take the student to their homepage, which they can do a few other things besides make an appointment. They can see upcoming appointments, complete surveys, see messages from staff or admins, even see what we call the news or college news, any type of announcement that you want to get out to students. One other option is they can run reports on their own attendance. We'll get into some of this in Accudemia as well. But if the student wants to make a new appointment, they're going to click on that make a new appointment button there, so a new appointment button. They're going to be able to then choose a service, a course or activity. So it's going to take the student through a series of questions. Now the services, the reasons they're coming in are all imported or input by you, right? So one thing that we are doing is we're importing student information, we're importing course information, we're importing enrollment. So when a student does go to make an appointment, and let's say they do choose something like a tutoring service, it's only going to ask the student to sign in for or make an appointment for a course that they're actually enrolled in. Now, just to give other examples, if this was advising, the student said, I'm here for advising, it would have advising activities. So these are all activities or courses in which you've imported from your SIS, or in which you've manually input or imported yourself, because maybe they're not courses that they're coming in for. Okay. But the example here is going to be tutoring. So the student says, I need online tutoring, so a virtual service. The student will then choose from one of their currently enrolled courses that are offered as an online tutoring service. Also, that's available within that center. And then they're going to be able to see available staff. So in this case, the student can only see staff members that can actually help with the course or activity or reason that they chose that they want to make an appointment. And any green open availability, the student will be able to click and make an appointment. Now, once the appointment's made, and I'm going to walk you through this whole process inside of Accudemia, but once the appointment is made, both the student and the staff member are getting an email confirmation. Those are sent as Outlook or Google Calendar invitations. So if you accept them, they go into your own personal calendar. Now, you may have noticed in the services, there's probably a face-to-face tutoring and an online tutoring. Since the student chose an online tutoring service, Accudemia knows that's a virtual service. And what Accudemia will do is it will send the student in that email confirmation the link to sign into Accudemia and then be sent to Zoom or your whatever option you want to use. Examples today are going to be Zoom. So the student will get that email confirmation. They'll be able to click on that link if they're within the sign-in window of that appointment, and then we'll be going out to Zoom to have their virtual session. Okay. Now, not only does the student get an email confirmation, but they also get an email reminder or a text reminder. So what we've also been doing is in the email reminder, we've been putting the link for the student to meet with the staff member as well. So the email reminder and the text reminder, you can determine how many hours before the appointment starts would the student receive those reminders. So not only do they get a confirmation, but they also get an email and a text reminder. Another option for the student to join the session, as opposed to just the link in the confirmation email, is if the student is signed into their homepage. So you're seeing the student's homepage where they would be making an appointment. If I'm within that sign-in window, I'm going to see a little join session button. The student would be able to then click there and also be sent out to Zoom in this case. Now, the importance of using Accudemia, what we're doing here is we're actually tracking time in and time out. So we're using Zoom to give us the sign in time and sign out time, and then sending it back to Accudemia, so then it will be in your reports. Okay. So now I want to switch to tracking virtual walk-ins. So what you're going to be able to do, and again, I'm going to walk you through this process inside Accudemia, is Accudemia is going to allow you to create a virtual walk-in center, and it's going to provide you with a link or multiple links. Okay? And you're going to be able to get these linked out to students, and we're going to talk about ways to do that. It could be through our chat system. It could be using the text feature, the message feature, or you could be emailing outside of Accudemia, but you'll be able to get this link to students to have a virtual walk-in. So I think the best example I have is if a student went to your center's website and you had a link there, click here to be a virtual walk-in, the student would be able to click there. Once they click there, it's going to take them to this screen you're seeing here. And you're going to see this is a customizable screen. You can have your own message, but it says, "Welcome to the Student Success Center." Click on the button below or link below to sign in. And when a staff member becomes available, you'll receive a link to join the meeting. So the student's going to click sign in, and what it's going to do is going to put the student in a waiting queue. Okay. So this is a virtual waiting queue that either your staff or you can have someone who you've determined is watching this waiting queue. Either one of them can sign the student in with themselves or sign the student in with another staff member. So today's example, I'm going to be a tutor, and I'm going to sign the student in with myself, and I'm going to show you that, again, the integration with Zoom at that point. So the student's in waiting. I'm then going to be able to pull the student from the waiting queue, sign them in with myself, and then the student's going to get a new message that tells them a staff member is ready to help you, and please click on the button below to sign in. Now what's going to happen is the student clicks on that launch session button, and it's going to send the student out to Zoom. And then when the student leaves Zoom, it's going to send a message back to Accudemia, say, hey, the student signed into Zoom at this time, signed out at this time, and Accudemia has the accurate tracking of when the student entered Zoom and when they left Zoom. So I want to quickly, for those that aren't as familiar with Accudemia, kind of talk about the face-to-face options really quick. Within your center, you're going to be able to set up sign-in stations. And so students can actually physically come to your center and then go to this kiosk, and they can type, swipe, or scan their ID to sign in and or out of your center. So that we can track any students who are actually physically coming to our center. And this would be walk-in or appointment-based. So I'm going to show you how we can create a virtual service for appointments and a face-to-face service for appointments, so that we know which students are coming in virtually, and Accudemia can send them the link, and which ones are coming in face-to-face, and we expect them to come to the center and sign in at this kiosk. Okay. I will take you through this process in Accudemia after you go over the virtual options, but just know that we can do face-to-face appointments and we can do face-to-face walk-ins. Something that's highly recommended, especially right now, is using card readers. So at that kiosk, student can come in and swipe or scan their ID. Now, I've been working with a number of centers that are going to be doing some face-to-face in fall or spring. And what they plan to do is that kiosk, instead of how it's been traditionally used as a student-facing kiosk, they're going to have it staff-facing. So essentially, if a student's going to be face-to-face coming to your center, they're going to go up to the front desk. There'll be a reader there. They can swipe or scan, not touch anything. And then the staff member behind the desk is going to ask the student, okay, well, which service do you need help with? Which course or activity? So they're going to be the one asking the student questions and making the selections. And this is to prevent the students from having to touch anything while coming face-to-face. So now the fun part, we're going to get into Accudemia, and I'm going to show you how all of this works. In my first example, what we're going to do first, I'm going to sign in as an admin. So what you're seeing here, this is the admin view inside of Accudemia, the back end of the software. And the reason I want to show this first is I'm going to make an appointment as a student, but I want to show you how the steps we need to do before we make those appointments, right? Before we're ready for students to be able to make those. So the first thing I want to show is that here in administration, actually, you know what? I'm going to show you the tutor view really quick. So we have all of our staff in the system, right? We have all of our tutors, all of our staff, and let's say we have a Zoom account. We want to connect our staff to Zoom. So what each staff member will be able to do when they log in is to be able to click on their name and go to preferences, okay? And they'll be able to go to virtual meetings. And this is the start of how we connect a staff member to their Zoom account. Now you can see I'm already connected, right? So if I wasn't connected, it would ask me to connect, and then it would take me to Zoom to put in my email and password. Once I complete that, it'll go back to Accudemia and connect you to Zoom. So this tutor right here is actually already connected to the integration of Zoom. Okay. So if a student makes an appointment with this tutor right now, we're going to know the exact sign-in and sign-out time when that student went to their sessions. Okay. So I want to show that first, but now we're going to get into the setup of how we set up those appointments. First thing I want to show back on the administration side is that we have all of our user accounts here. So at this point, we've already imported students, we've imported all of our staff, we've imported, maybe created some other admins or maybe some custom roles in Accudemia, and our instructors. So everyone's here. And all I have to do is click over here to toggle through, let's say my staff. So here's the Gary Busey that we were just looking at. And another thing that we do is we tie our staff to courses or activities, right? So what this does, when a student goes and says, hey, I need to make an appointment for American government, it says, oh, Gary Busey is a tutor that can help with that course or that reason. Okay, so we set up what the staff member can help with. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is here in Sensors in Classroom, because this is actually very important when creating your virtual center, and especially a hybrid center. So I'm going to look at my Student Success Center. So my Student Success Center in this case has multiple services. So I have an advising service, I have a face-to-face tutoring and online tutoring. So I have a couple different services, and you may notice that some of them say face-to-face. Actually, all of them say face-to-face, except for online tutoring. So what we've determined in Accudemia is that my online tutoring is a virtual service, and my face-to-face tutoring obviously is face-to-face. So when you add them, and just a tip, whenever you do add virtual and face-to-face, or even if they're virtual, it seems to be very important to make sure that you put something like online or virtual in front of the service so that students, when making an appointment, it's clear to them that they're making it to either come face-to-face to the center, or that this is going to be a virtual service. Okay. But notice the option here. This is a virtual service, online tutoring. I click here, allow online sign-in for appointments. So what that does is it tells Accudemia, hey, this student, or this service is a virtual service, and if a student makes an appointment for this service, send that staff member's Zoom link to the student. Okay. Otherwise, that confirmation email is not going to have a virtual link, and it's going to expect the student to come to the center because it is a face-to-face service. Now, one last thing before we can actually make appointments is I want to quickly go over how we set up the availability of our staff. Right. So I'm going to go here to center attendance, and I'm going to go to my tutor schedule. And I changed the terminology to tutor, so you'll be able to do the same thing. But this is my staff schedule. And since I'm signed in as an admin, I can come in here and I can say, I want to see the schedule for, I don't know, Gary Busey, right? And I'm doing this in term mode. So what that means is I'm setting a schedule for the tutor, the staff member, for the entire spring 2020 semester, Monday through Friday. Right? So I gave this staff member basically full availability for demo purposes. But to kind of show you an example of what I can do, I can click and drag, and I can determine, when they're available and when they're not available. So I'm going to say not available. Now I'm going to give them a short little lunch break here so that students can't book during this time. So again, this is the availability for appointments. Now, something else that I want to point out at this point as well is when I do click and drag availability, so I'm going to do this for Monday, the second half, I can determine during which days and which times I help with what. So, and this is a tutor, so I can see here the courses that I'm allowed to tutor, and I'm going to keep that the same, but you could say, okay, during this time I'm only going to help with this course, or I'm only going to help with this reason, or only these two reasons. To me, that's not as important as the services. Okay. The reason why I think that the services is important, especially for my hybrid centers, is because I can determine, am I a virtual tutor, am I a face-to-face tutor, or do I do both? And if I do both, when do I do each one? So for example, right now, the second half of Monday, I'm doing face-to-face tutoring and online tutoring. So if a student, when they go through the appointment process, chooses, I'm here for face-to-face, Gary Busey will be an option. If they choose, I'm here for online tutoring, Gary Busey will also be an option if it's the second half of Monday. Right? So you could determine which days or which times you're only online, only face-to-face, or you're helping students with both. Okay? So I want to point that out. It's been very useful for a lot of my centers that are now going to be hybrid, or at least for fall or hoping for spring. Okay. So at this point, I'm actually ready to make an appointment as a student. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch over to a student view, and let's imagine that I haven't signed in here yet. Let's see. Let's imagine I'm a student. I went to your center's website. There was a link that says click here to make an appointment, and I click there. Now, one thing I do want to mention also is we can do single sign-on. All right, so single sign-on will actually skip this whole sign-in process here, right? It wouldn't ask the student, give me ID, give me password. We can pass those credentials from your student portal over to Accudemia. In this case, maybe I'm not using SSO, or I didn't sign into the portal already. It's asking the student, hey, put in your ID and password. So once using single sign-on, if I click that link, it takes me straight here. If I'm not using single sign-on or the student's not signed to the portal, it goes to that screen. After I sign in, again, takes me to the same place. They can see their upcoming appointments. They can see messages from staff or admins. They can see the college news or news, any type of announcement that you want the student to see. Also, I think it's very important, students can run reports on their own attendance. Very useful for students who have required hours, required visits, in any case that you want the student to be able to see their own attendance. This is optional. We don't have to allow our students to do the messaging, see reports on their own attendance, so you can kind of determine what you want to give students access at this point. But let's get to the important part. I want to show you how a student would make an appointment. So you can see I have an upcoming one in 16 hours, but I'm going to make a new one. Okay, and what this is now showing is it's showing all the various centers at your college. Now, one thing to point out here is we can actually make it to where if they click on the link on your center's website, it will pre-select your center and not show them all the other areas that are also offering appointments. But at the same time, this has been useful for students as well. A good example would be maybe you have multiple centers using Accudemia on campus, but the student doesn't know where online tutoring is or an online services. They don't know where the service is that they need. So they're actually able to look at this screen and see the different centers and what's offered. So a good example would be if I'm looking for online tutoring, the only place that's offering online tutoring is the Student Success Center. And so I'm able to see who's offering what, and especially if it's a virtual service or a face-to-face service, in case you have students who don't want to come into the center or who want to come in, or who do actually want to come in. So I'm going to make an appointment for a Student Success Center for online tutoring. It's going to go through that same process I kind of showed. Since I chose online tutoring, it's saying, okay, well, which of your currently enrolled courses do you want to make that appointment for? Also, that pertain to online tutoring, I'm going to say I want to make an appointment for my American Government course. My instructor of that course is Jim Carey. And again, it's going to give me staff that can help with that course. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose Gary Busey at 3:30. So I'm going to make an appointment that starts in 1 minute. Now, most of you wouldn't allow your students to do that. And in the settings of Accudemia, you can determine how far in advance or how close to the appointment time can they make appointments. I'm actually going to do this so that I can, sorry, I'm signing in as a tutor really quick into my Zoom. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you how a student can actually sign into that appointment right now. So as a student, I'm going to click confirm. It's just recapping what I made the appointment for. So appointment confirmed, and just know now's the time where that confirmation email is getting sent out to the student, getting sent out to Gary Busey, the staff member. And since it was a virtual online tutoring service, Accudemia is sending that link to the student via that confirmation email. So I'm going to go back to the home screen. Remember the other option I told you earlier was not only in the confirmation email is there the link, but also if I'm within the sign-in window, I'm going to have the option to join the session straight from here. So as the student, I'm going to click join session and join session now, and it's going to now take me out to Zoom. Okay. And I'm going to show up as a participant in this Zoom session. Okay. Now, what you can't see is I'm actually, I'm going to join with, I'm not going to join with anything here, and continue. So what you can't see is I'm actually here, here's the Zoom session. We have the host, we have the student. So here's the host, Diego. This is just the account that we have for Zoom. And then here's the student, Polly Shore, signed in to Zoom, right? And what is going to happen now, that I, as a student, leave Zoom. So if I click leave, or even if I exit here and I leave meeting as a student, it's going to sign the student out. Before I show you that, I want to show you in Accudemia, back on the tutor side, if I go to Manage Center, I'll be able to see that the student has signed in. So once the student clicked on that link and got sent out to Zoom for their appointment, it signed them into Accudemia. So we're tracking their end time. Now he hasn't left yet, so the session's not over. There's no sign out, he's currently signed in. Now watch as I go back to Zoom and I click here as a student and I leave the meeting. So I'm a student and I leave. Whether the student leaves or you kick the student out, whichever, it's going to track their out time. So now we're back on the staff screen and I just refresh this, or I wait for it to refresh itself, and it now gives me an out time. So that's what's part of the integration. As the tutor, I didn't have to go back into Accudemia and sign the student out. As soon as the student left the Zoom session, it signed him out automatically. Zoom sent a message to Accudemia saying this student left. And that's the big, to me, that's the big piece of the Zoom integration, is that accurate tracking of the session. Okay. So what I want to do now is show you the virtual walk-in. Okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of the setup at the admin side. Okay, I'm going to show you how we set up our center as a virtual walk-in center. So here at Center Attendance, we have our virtual sign-in. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying I want to make my Student Success Center a virtual walk-in center. Okay? And if you remember in the PowerPoint in the beginning, you may have seen something close to these messages. What we're doing here is when we get that link to the student, I want to give them a welcome message. They're obviously going to go through as to why they want to be a virtual walk-in, just as if they were coming face-to-face. And we're going to give them some messages along the way. So the first message after they click the link is just basically saying welcome, and please click on the button below to sign in. What that will do is then take them through the walk-in questions. Which service, which course or activity, who's your instructor, if that's what you're going to ask them. So it takes them through those questions. Now, step 2 is where I can actually fix the questions. So the best example I give here and how it's been used in some of my centers is, let's say I have multiple services. I have a online tutoring service and I have an online writing service. Okay, and let's say that those two services have different websites. And this is a real case scenario. So they have different websites, and I want to put a link for virtual walk-ins on both. But when the student clicks on goes to the tutoring, let's say, website, and they click on the link to be a virtual walk-in, I don't want to ask the student, hey, are you here for tutoring or writing? I want Accudemia to know that when they click on my website, my tutoring website, the student wants online tutoring. When they click on the link on the writing center's website or the other area's website, I want Accudemia to know they're coming in for writing. So what I can do is I'm going to be able to make multiple links here, right? But I can fix the service. I can say, okay, if the student clicks on this link that I'm about to create, they're coming in for online tutoring, because I'm going to put this on my online tutoring or my tutoring website. And you can fix other things. That's the best case scenario that I've seen. But you could fix course, who they be meeting with, or who the instructors. This is, to me, the best way to use this particular feature. Now, once they do go through that process of answering those questions as to why they're coming in, they're going to get a new message to basically let them know that they're in line and someone will be with them shortly, right? So again, you can cater that message to really say whatever you want to. I kept it simple. Please click on the button below to join. Okay. And then I'm going to be able to put a virtual link in here, and you can see I chose Zoom. But the best way that I've seen this used is by using this option here. Use tutor's virtual link when available, instead of this link above. Okay, so what will happen if I use the link above? Every student who signs in as a virtual walk-in is going to be sent to the same exact place, right? But what I can do instead is I can say, actually, instead of using that link, whichever staff member, whichever tutor pulls a student from the waiting queue, or whichever tutor gets matched up with that, or staff member gets matched up with that student, I want them to be sent to their own Zoom, right? The integration that they did, right? So that's what that option there is for. I can also determine when this link expires, and I'm going to say never, right? And I'm going to create this session link and copy here. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm actually going to go to a new browser, and I'm going to paste this link. Now, as I was saying earlier, there's many ways of getting this link to students, right? The best example I've seen or most widely used is putting the link in your center's website, click here to be a virtual walk-in or get live tutoring help, whatever hyperlink you want to put, right? Other options are, we do have a chat feature. You can start a chat with a student or be chatting back and forth with a student, and I can paste that link because they need help, and we can have a live session right now. I could also use the messaging feature. So I could say I want to message, my student Polly Shore here. I can send them that link. Or maybe it's a group of students that you want to have a group session, and maybe it's my at-risk group. Right, so I can send it to my at-risk group. Okay. So I can send it to one student, multiple students, a group of students, if I want to have a live quick session right now. Okay. Again, what I've seen is a lot of centers will just put that link on their center's website so that students can click on it to join, because that's probably where they're going to be going the most, where it's going to be most visible to a student is on your website, or anywhere where a student might be going. If you have a student portal, maybe somewhere there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is show you what happens when the student does click on that link. All right, so I'm gonna open up this browser here, and I'm gonna paste it. Now, when I click on that link, if you're using single sign-on, what just happened is exactly what's gonna happen. It's gonna skip ID and password. Your student portal is gonna pass the credentials to Accudemia and say, the student who just clicked on the link is this student here, Polly Shore. Okay. And this message probably looks familiar. It's the same message we've already looked at twice already, once in the PowerPoint, once in the setup. So here's your welcome message after the student clicks on the link, and it tells them to click on the button below to sign in. So I click here, and it takes me through the questions as to, okay, you're a virtual walk-in, why are you here? Notice that it skipped service, because when we set up this link, we said, we're fixing this link for the online tutoring service, and it went ahead and it pre-selected service for the student. It went straight to courses or activities that pertain to that service. And again, just like using appointments, these are the students currently enrolled courses that are offered as an online tutoring service for walk-ins, right? So I can say, I need help with my American government course. My instructor is Jim Carey. It tells the student that they're now in line, and it's going to take them out to this screen, which is another one of those customizable messages to let them know to please wait until a staff member starts a session. It may take several minutes. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to a tutor, right? So I'm a tutor. I have access to the managed center, the waiting queue, and I can pull students. So I'm going to switch back there. Here's the tutor. I'm going to go to center attendance and manage center. So I can see that one student is waiting, Polly Shore. Only been waiting for a few seconds. He needs help with online tutoring in American government. And let's say that I, as Gary Busey, the tutor, can help Polly Shore with this online tutoring in American government. Okay, so this is a walk-in. I'm a tutor. I'm going to pull the student. Click here to sign in the student. I'm going to pull the student in with myself. And all I'm going to do is, because we have the Zoom integration, the meeting's already set up, it's already here, I'm going to click sign in, sign student in. And what that's going to do is, back on the student side, you're going to hear an audible beep. The student will hear a beep to let them know, hey, a staff member is now ready, and the message will change to let them know that staff member is ready and you can launch the session now. Student launches the session. I open my Zoom meetings, and I'm now going to, as a student, be sent to Zoom. So when I go as a tutor or as an admin, when I go back to that managed center, I'm going to be able to see the student in, and I'm going to be able to see the student out of the session. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to an admin. Actually, we'll switch back to a tutor. I want to show you, as we can see the student in the session, or they're recently signed out, as a staff member, I can leave notes or comments on sessions. So I would be able to click here on comments, and I, as a tutor, can say, you know, Polly Shore did well today, right? We worked on this, we worked on that. I'll be able to say, you know, what we worked on here. So I'll just say, just to keep it short, he did well. So I can add any type of note or comment on the session that I want to. Now, in addition to that, what I'm also able to do is I'm able to do my, what we call our session assessment, right? So let's say that you want your staff to complete or answer certain questions that they had with, you know, when they met with the student, get certain information about their session that they had with the student. I could ask it in like a survey form. All right, so I can come here and I can say, how did the student do in this session? Did he come prepared? Would you recommend another session? And leave a comment. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this survey. So now, not only the attendance logs, the notes and comments, and the session assessment are now gonna be reportable. I can go to reports, I can run reports on that data. Okay. So I know I mentioned that we're gonna go over the walk-in process or the face-to-face process really quick. So I'll go ahead and do that. For those that aren't as familiar with Accudemia. So I'm going to log out as an admin, and it's already set up as my kiosk mode here. So again, if I had a student who's coming in for a face-to-face appointment or as a face-to-face walk-in, they would be able to come into my center, and I would probably at this time have this staff facing, but again, you could, traditionally it's always been student facing. The student would sign in and make the selections, but you can have it staff facing so the student doesn't have to touch anything. But let's say I'm a student. I'm actually going to give you an example of a peer tutor. So I'm a peer tutor, but I want to come in as a student. So in this case, it's going to ask me, hey, are you coming in as a student or a tutor? Because I have both roles. I'm going to say I want to be a walk-in as a student. I'm here face-to-face, and I need my face-to-face tutoring in American government. My instructor is Jim Carey. And because I have that waiting queue turned on, it has now put the student in the waiting queue. So the waiting queue can actually work for virtual sessions or even face-to-face. So if you are doing a lot of face-to-face and you don't have enough available staff, I can put the students on the waiting queue until a staff member becomes available, and then I can match the student with the staff member. When the student's done with their session, they're going to be able to come back to this kiosk and type, swipe, or hopefully scan their ID to sign out of the center. And that's how we know if I'm a face-to-face walk-in, who came, why did they come, we've matched them up with a staff member, what was the sign out time and a total time they were there. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to sign in as an admin. Now I wanna show you some of the reporting. And the reason I wanna get into reporting today, not only for those that aren't as familiar, but and may not use Accudemia, but also for those who do use Accudemia, if you do plan to go hybrid, there's some reports in here that can actually help us know, are students coming from more virtual sessions, more face-to-face? So what does the usage look like amongst the various services, courses, activities, you know, what are they coming in for? So I'm gonna go here to reporting. And we have generally two reporting sections. You have your general reporting section, which is more of your student profile or demographic reporting. So what are the demographics that are students that are coming to our center? Right? Our survey results. So when students complete surveys, what's the feedback, right? And then I have basic student lists. Now, most of the reporting you're going to run is going to be here under center attendance. So this is telling us who came, why did they come, how long were they there, type data. And the first report I want to show is our attendance summary. Now, this particular report is one of my favorite because I do my date range, so I choose which range I want to using a past semester, current semester, last 7 days, drop down calendar. So you choose your range you want to run this report for. If you have multiple locations, you can choose which location, which center do you want to run it for. I then can choose my format, so PDF, CSV, Excel, and then I can also, the important part is I can summarize this by service, by course, activity, or reason did they come in, or if you have multiple locations, or which tutors are, or how many hours are they spending working with students. So the first one I want to show is service, because I think that pertains more towards my hybrid centers that are going to be doing either have multiple services or they're going to be doing face-to-face and walk-in, or sorry, face-to-face and virtual. I can see my services, how many visitors have come in for each service, how many times, an average session time, and a total number of hours or minutes in which students have come in for these services. So in a good example is if I'm comparing my face-to-face service to a virtual service like my face-to-face tutoring to my online tutoring, I can see how many students are coming in for each and how many times. So what's more popular, what's not. Now we've been doing face-to-face for a lot longer, so even though as of right now, face-to-face tutoring has 20 visitors that have come in 829 times for an average session time of 1 hour and 15 minutes and a total of over 1,000 hours of face-to-face tutoring. My online tutoring, it's kind of catching up. Only 2 unique students have come in for online tutoring, but 111 times for a total of 81 hours. So, and because I ran this for a long period of time, we've been doing face-to-face for much longer than online. Now, if I ran this for the last, semester, we'd probably see the opposite. I'd see that virtual has picked up and face-to-face has gone down. So this is a great way to be able to see, what does the usage look like per cent or per service. Now, something else to point out, you can see totals as well. So 22 unique students have come in for one of your services, over 1,000 times in over 1,200 hours. Now, if I run that report again, and I do this by course. So let's say now I know which services are most popular. I know that our online, our virtual services right now is the most popular service we have. Let's say online tutoring, but I need to know, okay, well, which course or which activity or which reasons are the most popular or least popular. So I run the same date range, and I say view report, and I can see, okay, here are the courses, activities. You can see some of these aren't just courses. There are things that I've input like academic behaviors, academic coaching, so they're not just courses. But I can see what's popular, what's not. Right? American government at this point is my most popular course with 13 visitors, 805 visits, 788 hours of tutoring service in this particular course. And so I know this is what students are coming in for. I need to have more staff that can help with this reason. So I need more online tutors. I need more online tutors that can help with American government. And maybe no one for geology. Right, so I can see what's not popular as well and determine, do we really need that tutor that can help with this one course if students aren't coming in for it, or reason or activity. So now this is just a summary report. Now we do have more detailed reporting. A good example of that would be my attendance by student report. So this particular report, you can see, opens up a lot more filtering. So I can see, I could come in here and I could filter, my date range as it could before, my location, but now it opens up a service filter. So I can say I only care to see students who came into the Student Success Center for online tutoring, so I can choose which service or multiple services. I could then even say I only care to see when Chuck Norris came in, so I can search by ID or student and determine, which students do I want to see on this report. Now just know, if I don't choose a student, or if I don't choose a service or location, or I don't choose, a course or activity, it gives me all. So if I didn't choose Chuck Norris, it would give me all students that came into the center for online tutoring at the Student Success Center. So, but I can run multiple filters to get more precise data or data that I'm looking for. So at this point, I just want to know when Chuck Norris came for online tutoring in the Student Success Center for any course, right? And we view this report. So again, I can see any course that this student has come in for. So I first see that he came in for an online tutoring service for my Algebra 101, for his Algebra 101 course. Date, sign-in time, sign out, it's only a minute. Met with Chris Farley at the Student Success Center, but it was a virtual service and a total of 1 minute. Now he's come in multiple times for American government. So I can see, again, all of the dates, sign-in times, sign-out times, how long, who he met with, which center or location. And because I only chose one center, one location, and one service, all will say Student Success Center and online tutoring. Now, at the very end of this report, it will give me not only the total number of hours and minutes for that course or activity or reason, but it also gives me a total overall in case he came in for other courses or activities. So I can basically report on the traffic of a specific student. Okay. The next report I want to show is a zero visit report. Now, this has been a pretty important report for my online centers, my virtual centers, and the reason why is because we've been able to communicate much easier with students when we were at the college. Students were coming in. And some of that communication has been lost, or even you have found other ways to communicate with students rather than them just popping in when they want to and communicating then. So this particular report will show us who's not coming in. So it's our zero visit report. It's the opposite of a student attendance. It tells us who's not coming in. So the best example I have is if I have a student group that should be coming into the center, I can run this report for that group and see who from that group is not coming in. And the reason I mentioned the communication is because this might have been much easier to figure out when the students were coming face-to-face, but now that they are expected to have virtual hours, it may be more difficult to track those hours and keep a report if you're not using a system such as Accudemia. So that's the example I'm going to go with. I'm going to say, I want to know in the last 7 days, my group of at-risk students who are supposed to come to my center every week. I want to know who from that group didn't make it this week. And I'll just run in a PDF again and view this report. So again, all this is going to do, it's going to tell me, okay, here are the students that are part of your at-risk group that didn't make it in this week. And now I can contact these students and try to get them into the center. And this is going to track face-to-face or virtual, it doesn't matter. I will know, did they come in for their visit, right? Now, something that's I think is really neat about this particular report, or really any of the reports that you can schedule, here at my zero visit report, I'm going to give you another example. Let's say our student athletes, my football team, is required to come in once a week. And the football coach wants to know every Friday which of my students didn't come in, right? So I'm still gonna choose my at-risk group, just pretend they're the football team, because I know I have students in there. And I'm gonna say, instead of view this report of my football team that didn't come in the last 7 days, I wanna go ahead and schedule it instead. And I'm gonna call this my, even though it's not my football team, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it absences. So football team absences, who didn't come in for the required visit this week? And so give it a name you want to, then I can determine how often do I want to schedule this report. I want to do it daily, weekly, or monthly. So I'm going to choose my weekly, and I'm going to say every Friday around 6 p.m. Okay, I'm going to click next, and I can say, okay, I want this report to go to myself. So if you have a report that you run weekly, daily, or monthly, go ahead and schedule it, have it sent to yourself via email. Or if it needs to be sent to someone else, I can choose a specific person or a specific email address and have it sent to them. Some other options in here that I think are really neat is a good example would be using like my tutor hours report. Maybe I want my tutors to get a report weekly of all of their hours. So actually, let me go run that really quick. If I go to my tutor hours report, I can choose, okay, which tutors do I want to receive this report? If I don't choose any, it will send it to all my staff. I can schedule it. Let me give it a fake name really quick to save time. And then I can say, okay, weekly, every Friday, 6 o'clock, I want a report to go out to all my tutors or all my staff, an individual report to each one of them saying, hey, here's your hours for this week, or here's all the students that you met with this week and for how many hours. Okay. And I can do the same thing for instructors. If students are getting extra credit for going to the center for a certain instructor's course, I could have selected the instructor in my attendance by instructor and say, send an individual email to that instructor and let them know, here's all the students that came into the center for one of their courses. And you can do the same thing for students. I can send a report to the student, hey, here's your hours this week of your required hours. Just want to show you some of the reporting, some of the way that we can schedule the reports. Now, I do have one, I know we're getting close to time, I do have one that I really like to show, my traffic analysis report. I'm going to run this really quickly because this is actually one of my favorite reports in academia because it's hard to duplicate this data outside of a system like ours, right? We're tracking who's coming in, what they're coming in for, how long they're staying. So we're able to basically create reports in academia to show you when are these high traffic times. So first thing I want to show is our visits by day of the week chart. And it's, okay, cool. I thought I was going to pop on my other screen. So this particular report is showing me, okay, well, we're open every day of the week. Our most popular day is Thursday, followed by Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Friday. Really nothing on Saturday or Sunday. So I know we probably don't need to be open on Saturday or Sundays. I need more staff during those high traffic days. Okay. And you can run this report for any date range you want to. You can see I ran it for a large date range. So basically this is saying during this, for this whole semester, typically Thursday is your highest traffic day, but you could have run this for midterms week, finals week, add drop withdrawal week to see what your traffic looked like on between two specific dates. Now, one other one I want to show really quickly, it's very similar. It's going to break it down a little differently, which I think is important. It's going to show us, see if I can minimize this so I can get the whole thing in screen. There we go. Again, Thursday is our highest traffic day, but I can see between 2 and 3 is my highest traffic hour. So I know, let's say I chose midterms week, I know during midterms week between 2 and 3 is our highest traffic hour on Thursdays. I need to have more staff during those times. Or I can see trends like between 2, 3, 3 and 4, 9 to noon pretty much across each day. Those are our highest traffic times. I need to make sure that I have staff scheduled during those times the most, rather than at 6 a.m. or midnight, which really doesn't get a whole lot of traffic. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint really quick, finish out here. So if you're not a client, you're not currently using Accudemia, we'd love to get you started with our complimentary account. Please contact me at chadb@engineerica.com. If you are a current client and you want to go virtual, you want to set up that Zoom integration and you need help, please contact support@academia.com. And just know that after today's webinar, it'll probably be tomorrow, we're going to be sending a recording, and we're also going to be sending you information on how you would sign up for that complimentary account, or how you can, if you're a client already, how you can get set up with your new Zoom integration. So what I want to do now is open this up to our Q&A. And I know George is on the line. He's been answering some of your questions. So George, do we have some questions that have been answered yet, or do you have some questions that you want to make sure that everyone hears that you've already answered?
Hi, Chad. Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. Yeah, we have had several really interesting questions that I've been answering as they show. I mean, I want to go just over a couple of them. Somebody is asking about if there is a separate cost for the integration, and no, the answer is no. Accudemia is a system that gets regular updates and improvement like this new integration. So no, there is no added cost, just the added value to our users. And somebody is asking about GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar as streaming platforms. Yes, you can use it perfectly fine. It's just that the integration so far is only with Zoom. So you can use GoToMeeting. It's just that we're going to have to, we will know the sign-in time, but the sign-out time has to be entered by the user, by the student or the tutor. But you can definitely use it just fine. And a lot of people are asking about the recording. We're going to send it really soon. So you'll be getting the recording very soon. And everyone that hasn't had their answered yet, we'll be sending a response really quick. So thank you for joining us today, and look forward to see you soon. Bye.
Yeah, thank you all so much for your time. Like I said, we'll send the recording out. If you have any questions, you can email me there at chadb@engineerica.com. And we hope to hear from everybody. Thank you. Have a great day.